Hey team, welcome back to the show. Today I have Coach Natalie and Coach Andrea on, and we're going to be talking through Andrea's bikini competition prep. What's different, what's harder, and what she has been learning. So, this was sparked by a listener question asking anything you're approaching differently in bikini prep versus previous photo shoot preps. And I think we all thought this would be just a really fun conversation because, of course, there are a lot of things you're doing differently. It is kind of a new level versus the photo shoot preps you've done previously. So it'll be a really cool conversation around what you're doing to level up your physique, what you are kind of learning in the process, and a lot to take away for the listener as well. So I'm excited to get into it. To kick it off, for anyone who doesn't know, let's do kind of a high level overview of current goals and what you've been up to. So for those who don't know, fill us in on what it is you're currently up to, aka your bikini prep.
I'm in a bikini prep. I'm dieting. I started dieting a couple months
Are we gonna be
ago
like this today?
for a show planned. The planned first show is mid-June, June 13th. So I'm really early on into it. In fact, the first month was just like a pre-prep where things were not very aggressive yet at all. And so into the actual prep where we've started pushing a little bit more. I'm only 4 weeks in. But so far everything's going well, going pretty smooth. What else do you want to know about that?
Prior to this, how long were you preparing to prep? So how long have you been planning to compete?
Oh, um, it was sometime within the photo shoot prep that I think that I actually made that decision and like vocalized that to my coach. I had kind of kicked it around. I can even remember kind of thinking about it whenever Nolan was like a baby. And just didn't like love the at that time for me personally didn't love the bikini look or like the presentation and everything. And so kind of decided it wasn't for me, got into other competition stuff. And then more recently, a lot inspired by Task competing and Natalie competing, and also just the evolution of bikini. I just like the look of it personally a lot more at this stage, and decided that I would enjoy pushing myself way outside my comfort zone. And so that's been probably a little over a year,
When did you start working with Brittany?
like 2.5 years ago.
I thought this was kind of the intention the whole time. No?
No, and I was
Interesting.
telling you guys no, I wasn't going to.
Oh, cool. Okay. Okay.
When you started with Brittany, you specifically said, like, I want to do a big photo shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that
Okay.
was like
Right
the
on.
first, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk of photo shoots then. Been, of course, you're in prep now. We've been been quote unquote preparing for this, training towards this for a year, but realistically, the way you've been training and approaching your training and nutrition for many years is kind of geared up towards this. Let's talk previous photo shoots. How many have you done?
I've done two. The first one I think was in 2021, if I remember right, and then this most recent one being early last year.
Going into the one early last year, what was the goal for that? Was it to be like as shredded as I possibly can? Like, what's the look you were going for?
Yeah, improved upon the first one was the biggest thing. In between that was when I did that 1.5 year long health phase, got into a place where my body was finally responding a little bit more predictably. So I really just wanted to improve upon the first one that I did. I have built some muscle and come in leaner for it. I know it's not typically realistic to push to stage conditioning for a photo shoot. It's just not that it's not realistic. It's typically just not practical to push it there, or worth it. So I wasn't anywhere near stage lean for that, but I just wanted to be leaner than I had been before in my life and had built muscle, and look better subjectively than my first one.
Okay, so it was basically to get to your leanest condition you'd ever been in, but not any
Hmm.
specific, like, I want to be as ripped as I would be on stage.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like that required a lot from you in terms of like your nutrition, your cardio, how hard you had to push yourself? Do you feel like it required a lot? Was it just pretty easy? Talk me through that.
Yes and no, because that is kind of subjective. And because I've been just sort of like living this lifestyle and it's
Yeah,
been
just for
sort of
you
a,
personally.
yeah, I wouldn't say it was super hard. I wasn't doing a ton of cardio. Um, Food was, I mean, I was hungry and I wanted to eat more food, but it wasn't like a real grind. In fact, the first one was more of a grind than the second one.
It's because you were dieting a lot more, or you had to diet a lot more aggressively there, right? That was
Hmm.
before the health phase and whatnot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Cool. Cool. So I think a pretty good summary. I mean, you gotten quite lean. Like you got a great result for both of your photo shoots, but definitely what you're doing now is a new level. So let's talk about bikini prep versus photo shoot prep and any questions or contributions you have, Natalie, of course, jump in wherever. What would you say is different about preparing for a stage now versus preparing for a photo shoot in the past?
For stage, there is a very specific timeline where you need a very specific look. So for the photo shoot, there's just sort of like built-in wiggle room there. So there's not any specific condition. It's just I want to look my best. But for the stage, there is you need to be this lean but not leaner, and you need to have this amount of muscle mass in these areas, and you need to do it on the specific date that you're aiming for, or else find a different show. So there's just a lot more precision that's needed. And it's also, even though I was really motivated for my photo shoots, there's something different about knowing that you're going to be compared against other people on stage, and you're also on stage with very little clothing. And so, and then there's the whole like presentation aspect of it too. So there's just a lot more that goes into it. And I'm not even near the end of it where there is going to be a lot more variables that we're adding in. Like I know there will be more electrolyte manipulation and the peaking process and things like that that I'll get to. But there's just more pressure, but in a good way for the stage.
Someone who's done both as well. Anything you would add to that, Natalie?
I think it's just more, you have more controllables for more uncontrollables. Like that ratio is just so skewed with a show,
Mm,
because
gotcha.
it's
Yeah.
it's happening in real time, and like there are just so many more things you need to control, yet so many more things that you actually can't control. And the nice thing about a photo shoot, not that I've ever done a successful one, but
I
but
was
the
gonna
nice
say I didn't want to say that, but I was like, it's interesting you saying that your shows went so well, but photo shoots aren't your jam.
so weird. But a show is live action happening in real time, and with a photo shoot, you have a little bit more real time feedback. You can you're communicating with the photographer, of course. Like Andrea said, you can push you can push the shoot back. You can push a show back too, but there comes a point where you actually can't. Like, and it's just, you gotta go. But like if you're working with a photographer, more than likely they can like kind of show you like some of the selects in between shots, and you can find out like, oh, this is gonna be my best lighting, this is gonna be my best angle, and you're like posing and they're capturing. It's like they're capturing your best moments, but when you're on stage, it's like it's just all laid bare. There's no, it's not a highlight reel. It's like everyone who's watching, like the judges are getting every aspect of like your presentation. um
Absolutely.
so yeah, there's a bit more of a like performance element for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with the presentation part, but just in the athlete sense of like it's game time. Like, gotta go perform.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. From a physique standard perspective here, would you say what you're aiming for now, Andrea, is quite a bit leaner than what you did in the past?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I am almost as lean as I was for the photo shoot, and I've probably got 20 pounds to go.
Okay, nice. So quite a
Big
considerably
difference.
leaner, actually. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm surprised with that actually, but you built a lot of
Because
muscle as well.
you've been like working towards this obviously for like a long time in terms of just living the life. But with like last year's photo shoot, how much would you say that your shape has changed in the last year? Like once you made the decision to go for a specific criteria, like how much has had to change with like your training, for example, to like bring in like a specific shape?
Yeah, my training has changed a fair bit. My programming is actually the same aside from a couple of movements. So, several months back, we pulled out all direct quad work and all direct arm work. So it's really skewed now toward shoulders, some back, and then glutes and hamstrings. So, I mean, I know that they've grown. I can see that like my shoulders have grown. I'm sure my glutes have grown. um, but once I am like completely leaned out for it and like food selection is even chosen for my waist to be as small as possible, I think that's where that will really present itself more.
So talk us through then so the listener understands like what the judging criteria is for bikini. Like what is this specific look that you're aiming to nail? And either of you can jump in here.
You want balance top to bottom, but it's emphasizing, they call it from the front pose, it's an S curve. And so you want your shoulders to look like capped, not capped, not like striated, but like there should be
Like
some division,
cannonball
some
delts.
separation. Exactly.
Bubbly.
Yeah. And like nice and wide, but then
Okay.
the width is there to accentuate making your waist look smaller. And then your waist, you're kind of turning to the side, and then glutes twisting to show like the biggest that they can look, so that it goes outward on your shoulders, inward to your waist, and then outward again to your glutes. Um, so that's why the most focus in training is placed on the shoulders and back, and then the glutes.
Okay. Okay. From a body fat perspective, is it just get as ripped as you possibly can? Like we want like striated glutes. How lean do you want to get here?
They're pretty lean, but they will get counted down for a lot of separation in the quads, or a lot of hard lines in your arms and delts, or even like blocky looking abs, which a lot of that is just posing, because you're not like crunching and flexing your abs. So that's not really, unless you just have crazy abs, that's not really going to show through too much. But you want to be pretty lean for bikini, I would say. But aside aside from fit model, it is the least lean of all of the divisions.
That
But
said, when
like
you're looking at it,
don't
go
want
ahead.
striations anywhere, just to jump in there. Like you don't want striated delts. You don't want striated. And I think there's a cool like art. There's always an art to peaking, but I think there's a cool art to like the bikini shape in particular with peaking, with conditioning and peaking, because like you have to be like really freaking lean, but you have to be really full in the right places. So it's like you've got a lot of muscle. I think what would surprise a lot of people, like a surprising amount of muscle for bikini, but you've got to be really lean, but then filled out in the right places so that you don't have those striations or
Yeah.
like look flat or something like that. So it's like it's a really athletic, strong look, yet still soft. And I
And
think that's a challenge.
you're also not flexing though. And so a lot of those, like the girls, a lot of times being stage lean, if they just take a flexed gym picture, they'll be striated. But then whenever you go peak and present it well on stage, then they're not, they're just more bubbly looking.
Yeah, but it is still very, very lean. Like
Hmm.
roughly, I think we could say like 12 to 15% body fat approximately. I know I was working through J3U and that's what they said approximately bikini. So we'll
Like
rock with
not
that.
that. your everyday person should be walking around.
Yeah.
Correct.
Basically.
Correct. Yes, it is well, but still well below like what a sustainable level of leanness will be. It is that is where like the peaking side of things as well, and like the whole like look that you try to create is so interesting. Like there is really such an art to it. It's so cool. Okay. So within this, from a timeline perspective, relative to what you were doing, like relative to your last photo shoot, is there a big difference in like the timeline and the structure that we're using here versus that? Talk us through that.
Trying to remember how long fat loss was previously. I dieted from almost the beginning of November, but kind of did like a rather than pre-prep, she called it a health phase. It was basically the same thing, like a less aggressive deficit leading into the more aggressive deficit. So that started in September, and then I didn't do the photo shoot until end of March. So it was actually longer than my contest prep is going to be, but the aggressiveness of that is way different. So I've already started out with more cardio than I had at the very end of the photo shoot prep. Um, food wise, mm, food wise, I'm still higher than I was toward the end, but I'm sure that's going to change in not too much longer. Um, so
Okay.
what was it?
Okay. So
What I
much
think I walked away from the question. I don't remember what the question was.
basically differences in your timeline and structure so
Oh
far.
yeah,
Cool. Do you personally feel like there's a lot more pressure now versus the photo shoot prep or no?
yeah, a lot more.
Just because like Natalie also
Internally.
competed or what?
Yeah, she went and swept, so high stakes. No, I think there's a lot more internal pressure because I want to present my absolute best and I want to not let myself down or my coach down, and I also want to do well at the show. I
Yeah.
I don't like like losing in competition. So I want to make sure that there's nothing that I am not doing or should be doing to just control as much as I can. You can't ever control everything because so much of it comes down to who else is there. But I want to control as much as I can to give myself the absolute best chance. So
Do you feel that then it's like a pressure that's quite easy for you to manage and it's just a positive driver, or is it like a challenging type of pressure for you?
no, I think it's positive. It's all internal, but it's not something that is stressful. It's
Okay.
all just pressure in that it's creating adherence. like
I
um
like that.
I I don't feel anxious about, well, I mean, I feel anxious about the actual show, but I don't feel anxious about that pressure. I don't feel like, oh my gosh, if I lose or if I don't win or come in first, I'm going to be absolutely wrecked by this. It's just, I am putting a positive pressure on myself in order to control all those variables and check off all the boxes that I need to check off.
Okay. I love it. So getting into kind of what your process looks like currently, talk us through just like what your standard day to day looks like, just in terms of because I know you have a lot on your plate. We're like working in cardio, working in meal prep, we're working in a ton of client check-ins and communications. How do you kind of organize your day to day to make all this work?
As of now, and again, I'm still fairly early on, but as of now, I've been able to pretty much just fit it into time slots where I wasn't really doing anything before. So I wake up early and do my cardio fasted first thing. So
Okay.
usually I would have a little bit more of a slow morning, and I would like, I'll usually wake up around the same time, like maybe 5:15 or so. And I would just kind of like lay in bed for a few minutes and get up and like drink my water, weigh in, all of that stuff, and start eating breakfast. Now I pop up and I do my vacuums, and then I get on the elliptical in the garage, which we bought because of this prep.
It's nice
Because
to have.
who has time to go to the gym in the morning? I mean, I would do it if I needed to, but having kids, anyways, I want to be able to do it at home. So I get up and I get my stuff done right away, so that I can eat breakfast and get the boys ready and all of that at the time that I normally do. I'm sure at some point I'm going to start to need to like set an alarm and set that for earlier than what my normal routine is now. But it right now just kind of fits in that slot where I would just sort of wake up more slowly. Um, then I just have my normal work day, which sometimes means training and sometimes means check-ins. So right now I don't train on my check-in days. Um, so days that I'm training, my training does take me a good bit of time, and I'm adding on posing after every one of them now. So that's been additional time that I wasn't spending previously. Um, but I can fit that in right now, no problem. And then the other thing that I have added is mobility work. So I spend maybe like 20 minutes at night doing a mobility routine. And normally I would just kind of be like a little more slow to get ready for bed, or um, maybe just like laying in bed watching TV. And I instead get on the floor and do my mobility work at night before bed. So far it's just kind of slid right in, but I'm sure that there will be a little bit more time pressure as we get closer.
That's a lot though that you have added in, and you have a lot on your plate. You coach a lot of clients very well. You have kids, you have Nick, of course, like you have managing a relationship. So there's a lot on your plate there. How do you make the food side of things work? Do you like bulk prep at once? Do you prep like day to day? What's that like?
So working from home, I do prep food, but I don't prep my meals completely and have them in their individual containers yet. So whenever so on the weekend, we do Nick's meal prep all at once with all the meals completely ready to go since he's working in an office. So during that time, I'm also fixing like a big batch prep of ground beef and a big batch prep of chicken because those are the things that take longest. And so if I run out midweek, I'll just throw a big bunch of chicken in the air fryer or whatever. Um, then whenever I am ready to eat, I'll just also I have some bell peppers chopped up already. So I'll throw those into the air fryer. Like it's basically like 5 to 10 minutes to get my meal together. If I was working in an office, I would do the same thing as we do for Nick and just prep it all together in a container already. Um, at night, whenever I'm putting dinner together, I'll also fix breakfast for the next morning. So I'll fix my ground or not ground, cream of rice bowl and Tate's oatmeal bowl because he eats the same thing every morning. And Nick has a cream of rice bowl. I just fix that all whenever I'm doing dinner and have that ready to go for the next morning. So it doesn't really take any extra time because I'm already in there cooking. I would probably just be waiting on the food if I wasn't fixing breakfast.
I think from an efficiency perspective, one of the best things you can do is have like your first meal, at least the first couple meals of the day, like good to go. I do the same thing.
Mhm.
Like I always make sure my first three are good to go. And similarly, like from a food prep perspective, just like if you work from home, just like having your proteins, like if I have like sweet potato meal plan, I'm gonna have like honestly a lot now I'll just like stab a hole in a sweet potato and like throw it in the microwave for 5 minutes and like do a couple of those at the start of the day. But like you could have like diced potatoes prepared ahead and your rice prepared ahead and just frozen veggies, frozen fruit, and it's so easy to make that side of things work. Anything in prep so far that's been harder than you expected?
Not yet. I'm pretty
Okay.
early on. I'm just now, and this is probably something, and Natalie could probably attest. Like, this is probably something that'll be kind of up and down. So I'm not even saying, like, oh, this is the start of anything. Just now this week, my body's been a little bit more tired. Um, but I haven't been all that hungry. I've been like, I want to eat more food, but I haven't really been that hungry. Um, and training has felt really good. So nothing has been more difficult than expected yet. But
Okay.
if you ask me in another 8 weeks or 10 weeks, I might have a different answer.
Okay. Okay. Spot on. So when you're looking at the hunger, you mentioned like there's drive to eat, but you're not necessarily hungry. Is
Hmm.
that, do you just automatically identify that? Is that something you have to work through? Like talk us through how you distinguish between the two there.
I do get hungry. Like I'm a little hungry right now. I had a really hard leg day today and I feel like it's kind of wrecked me since then. Um, but it's not been severe. It's more just like I'll finish a meal and be like, man, I could eat that whole meal a second time. Or in between meals, there will be more times where I'm looking at the clock and going, is it time to eat yet? Or like just wanting to eat. So the distinguishing factor between the two is like actual hunger. I'm feeling that in my stomach or like in my throat. And that's more rare, but that more drive to eat is just like the thoughts around food. People call it food noise. It's just like I'm thinking about it more, but it's not that part is honestly usually harder for me, but I feel like that's part of the like focus and pressure or motivation that I have with this. It's been not as much of a factor that I'm even paying attention to, which hasn't been anything intentional that I've done, honestly. It's just I'm more motivated, I guess, for the result.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why like their post diet phase is a lot harder for most people than the diet.
For
You
sure.
people often feel hungrier, where in reality you're experiencing less hunger. You have more food, but you don't have that deadline. You don't have that goal you're working towards. And now it's like, well, I shouldn't be hungry. I have more food, and then it's just like it becomes a lot harder to distinguish. It's a funny thing. I've thought about that a lot recently as well. Anything else you would add there, Natalie, when we're looking at like distinguishing between hunger and drive to eat, but not necessarily true hunger? No. Natalie can't unmute herself. So if you have thoughts, come back. Um, all right. So from there, let's talk through. Of course, you are working with your own coach, Brittany. Talk us through what it's like kind of being on the other side of the coaching relationship as a coach yourself. Like, do you find it hard to let someone else take the wheel? And just fill us in on kind of again like biggest takeaways for being on this, like in the client seat here.
I honestly don't find it hard to let her take the wheel. She's done this a lot, and I have also seen that she gets good results. So it's pretty easy for me to just say, you take it. There are,
Yeah.
I will usually, and it's not even like a control thing. It's more just playing a mental game with myself of like, I think I'm going to get a drop in my food this week, or I don't, because I just like to predict and test myself there. But um, really, it hasn't been hard because I just trust that she's going to get me there.
Okay. Okay. I think that's a good perspective to have. Um, for someone else who's curious about competing, like another woman who's curious about competing but on the fence, what advice would you have?
I would assess assess your reason for that and your current lifestyle and position. So, um, have you pushed yourself anywhere near that level of lean before? Have you done any photo shoots or any aggressive deficits? And if so, how did you like it? How did you handle it? Um, and then is this like the whole aspect of training to a specific category? How does that feel for you? Like, are you going to enjoy doing glutes 3 times a week and pulling back on upper body training if you're doing bikini? Or are you going to enjoy the look in your off season too, which is a huge part of it, in my opinion? Um, the the I wouldn't say more advanced, but like the larger the category, the larger the muscle in the category, typically the more soft they end up needing to be in the off season because they're getting leaner and they're getting bigger, and so they're pushing to more extremes. So
Natalie's pushing to 250 right now.
exactly. Are you comfortable getting to 250? That's a big question. Um but that was one of the things that really kind of clicked with me whenever I was thinking about competing. Not that I'm built for for figure or anything like that, but I just personally don't like the look of my upper body whenever I am really building a lot more muscle there, and also in combination with getting the off season kind of softness. And so the stage is one day out of a year most of the time. So, and then the leanness that comes with that, maybe in the last month or 2 months, you're pretty close to that level of leanness. That's 2 months out of 12. So the other 10 months of the year, that's the look that you have most of the time, and that's what you need to be comfortable with. And because there is a very specific target, you everything that you're doing is taking closer to that. So you can't just throw in a mini cut because you have a beach trip coming up. Like that isn't conducive to your long-term goal of competing. Now, if you want to do a photo shoot, there's a little more flexibility there because we're not aiming for a particular target. We're just aiming for your best. And so it comes with just a lot more precision, a lot more specificity, and then of course, like a lot more um, intensity of everything. Everything that you do for a photo shoot prep is just sort of dialed up um, in comparison to the photo shoot prep. So you're going to have to get leaner, which means hungrier and more fatigue and harder training, and then more added to your daily routine. So you just have to you can't only want the look of that, you have to also want what comes with that, the work that comes with it.
And the whole off season as well. I think that's a really cool consideration. Like the body fat you're at there, and even like the urgency you have to approach it with to get to where you want to be when you're on stage. Right? As you said, you can't just like throw in a mini cut wherever. I think that's a really important distinction. Anything you would add into that, Natalie, as someone who's competed, again, for like any advice for a woman who's curious about competing but on the fence?
I think one of the coolest things about bodybuilding, I'm clearly a very like pro competing and pro bodybuilding, so I am viewing it through not necessarily for everyone though. I mean, I can very much have that conversation with a client, like should I not, hear the considerations. But I I mean, I love the whole process, like start to finish and ongoing, but I think one of the coolest things about it is that it saves you from those impulsive decisions. Like there really is no like, oh, well, like I have this trip coming up. I really want to be lean. Like, not if bodybuilding and competing is important to you. Like, if it's important to you, like you gotta stick to the plan. And like for me right now, I'm in an off season. That would be so unproductive if I was just like, hey, like I've got this trip coming up in 2 months and I just can I slim down for it or something. Um and I think if you allow that to be a positive thing, which is something that I do mentally and emotionally, I think it can be really powerful and transformative because it like can save you from yourself in so many ways. And it just like you kind of just stick to the plan and like I said, it saves you from these impulsive decisions that you might make like emotionally. And you're just constantly having to put the longer term goal first. And so it's always that like delayed gratification. And then like the lessons that ends up teaching you about like, hey, here's how to exist in a larger body that maybe like you aren't stoked about or as comfortable with. Like maybe you need to spend some time here to like learn and appreciate that body. Um, and that's something I try to articulate because I find it really cringe when women like share their off-season body and they like feel like they have to double down on the message of like, well, this isn't my best, this isn't my leanest, and it's like, doesn't make it less worthy or like less strong or less, doesn't mean you have less muscle or anything of the sort. So it's like I think learning to like exist in your non-leanest physique is like a life lesson that more women need to learn, quite frankly. And I know we're in the business of physique transformation, and dieting is a really big part of that. But it's always the part that everyone's like in such a hurry to rush and to get to. And that's also what's exposed through competition is like who did their homework and who didn't. It's like who's competing every single year and like not taking the time to like make those improvements. And of course that depends on the feedback from the judges, of course, right? But for most of us who are like not pros, and then even like new pros that are not seasoned pros, the improvements that we all need to make are pretty vast. It's only like at the top of the top where they're coming back with feedback like, don't change a thing, just like come in harder next time, come in softer next time, or like, hey, maybe a little bit more rear delt in this pose. But for most of us, the feedback is always going to be like, you need more muscle.
Glutes.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like, I don't think that's like a bad message or pursuit, really. And bodybuilding, if done properly and responsibly, like you shouldn't be, competing year round all year, every year.
I think this also carries over very well, even if you're not competing. Like for any of our clients, still hair last diet, we didn't have as much muscle as we wanted, right? So it might not be the same level of intensity, but the approach, it might be again on a smaller scale, but the approach needs to be quite similar. We need to take plenty of time to build. We need to be okay with not just always pursuing our leanness. We need to not want to hop into a diet phase every 3 months. Like I think it does still carry like the improvement process here does still translate over so well to just more chin pop as well. Cool. Anything else you would like to add, Andrea, in terms of answering the initial question? Like anything you're approaching differently in bikini prep versus previous photo shoot preps? Anything else you would like to add there?
Yeah, not maybe to that direct question, but just context around, you asked if anything had been harder than I was expecting or easier than I was expecting. So much of that, because I don't mean to make it sound like, oh, this is just so easy, so like anybody could just jump into
You're
it.
not trying to be a dick.
Yeah. So much of that is because, and same thing with when Natalie started in her prep, we and you as well just kind of put a meal plan on repeat for the most part year round because it's just easiest, and already have those habits in place of there's time blocked off for the gym. We have a meal prep habit in place each week. And so if you don't have those habits in place, that is something where when you do start this, either you're gonna kind of not do very well with it, or that part is going to be hard for you. And so if that's something that you're ever considering, even if you just want to do your best with a photo shoot prep, building those habits outside of the prep itself is going to make it run so much smoother for you. Because if I didn't already have all of those things just as part of the way that I live my life, then this would be like flipping a switch getting into prep, and that would be really difficult. It would be a way different story.
Like a completely different lifestyle that you're living.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Natalie.
Are you anticipating, like, what are you anticipating? What challenges are you anticipating? Like, I know I was very big on, like, I can't wait to see, like, what lessons I learn out of this sort of thing. Like, what are you expecting to, like, get out of this?
I think it's hard to know before you get there.
For sure. Yeah.
Because I think that correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you were really anticipating the exact hardest thing that came up for you.
Yeah, not at all. But that's what kind of why I wanted to ask you that, because
Yeah.
like it'll be an interesting conversation in a few months from now.
Yeah, I think so. Based on what I have typically struggled with the most in the past, I think it would be just sort of that like food noise sort of thing is always like a factor that's just annoying. And then also I tend to get pretty like I will get dizzy and weak. I have really baseline low blood pressure. And so as I get leaner and leaner, that becomes a like a difficult factor for me. I'll stand up and have to like just stand there and steady myself for a bit. Um, so I figure that is probably going to only get amplified because of getting leaner than I have in the past. And that's, I think, part of the reason I hated cutting my salt down too, because then your blood pressure gets even lower. But my resting heart rate it immediately dropped into the 30s whenever I started cardio.
Damn.
I'm like a walking zombie. I'm a
You're
sloth.
already in the 30s.
Yeah.
Do you check your blood pressure every week?
No, I
Things like
don't. We
that?
have a cuff, but I don't ever check it. But anytime I go to the doctor, a little bit concerned at first, and I have to tell them like, oh, it's always this low.
That's so interesting. I would think there would be some things you could do to improve that.
I just eat a ton of salt.
I wish I had lower blood pressure. I would be all for that. Anything else from your end, Natalie, to ask Andrea?
Excited to do like follow-ups though,
That's what I
like
was
throughout
thinking.
the process. Yeah, for sure. And I'm just selfishly excited to like watch the whole process and be on this side of it. And of course be at your show. So,
I am too. Like I was saying, I kept seeing you in the gym in Phoenix and be like, damn, Andrea's gotten a lot more jacked. And I know I know Natalie said the same, so it'll be really, really cool to see you up on stage. We have no doubt you'll crush it. But that is all we have, y'all, for today. As always, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you would like to apply for coaching with our team, hit the link in the show notes, and we will catch you guys next time.